The year 2026 has become one of the most defining moments in modern geopolitical history. Across every continent, nations are competing not only on the battlefield, but across economic trading floors, diplomatic chambers, technology laboratories, and the vast digital frontier. Power in 2026 is no longer measured by territory alone. It is calculated through a complex equation of military might, gross domestic product, nuclear arsenal, technological innovation, soft power influence, and the ability to shape international decisions. The world has watched in awe as certain nations have risen above all others to claim their positions at the very top of the global power hierarchy, and understanding who holds that power and why has never been more important for the billions of people whose lives are directly shaped by the decisions these countries make every single day. The ranking of the world's top 10 strongest countries in 2026 is not a matter of opinion or pride. It is a cold, calculated reflection of verified data drawn from Global Firepower, World Population Review, U.S. News and World Report, and a wide range of defense and economic monitoring institutions that study these nations with scientific precision. At the very top of every credible global power index in 2026 stands the United States of America, a nation that has maintained its dominance over global affairs for decades and shows no signs of relinquishing that position in the near future. In 2026, the United States achieved something historically remarkable. Its military spending surpassed $1.01 trillion for the first time, making it the only nation in the world to break the $1 trillion defense barrier. This figure alone dwarfs the combined military budgets of several major world powers. According to Global Firepower's 2026 military strength ranking, the United States holds a power index score of 0.0744, the highest possible score in terms of pure military capability, commanding the most technologically advanced air force, the most powerful naval fleet, the largest nuclear arsenal among active Western nations, and the most well-trained ground forces on the planet. Beyond military supremacy, the United States economy remains the single largest in the world, with a GDP that has grown well past $28 trillion, driven by a thriving technology sector, dominant financial institutions, unmatched energy production, and a deeply embedded culture of innovation that continues to attract the world's brightest minds to its shores. The United States also leads in soft power. Its cultural exports, including film, music, universities, and the English language, extend American influence into every corner of the globe, cementing its position as the undisputed #1 strongest country in the world in 2026. Second in line, and rapidly narrowing the gap with extraordinary ambition, is the People's Republic of China. China's rise to become the world's second most powerful nation has been one of the defining geopolitical stories of the 21st century, and in 2026, that story is still being written with great urgency. China's military, known as the People's Liberation Army, is the largest standing army in the world by personnel count and has been modernizing at a breathtaking pace. In 2026, China announced a 7% boost to its defense budget, reaching nearly $247 billion in officially declared spending, though many defense analysts believe actual expenditure is significantly higher when classified programs are accounted for. China's Global Firepower ranking places it at number 3 in pure military strength, but when economic power and geopolitical influence are factored in, it ranks second overall across most global indices. China's GDP, despite a modest growth target of 4.5% to 5% set for 2026, the lowest target in nearly 35 years, still represents the second largest economy on Earth, with an industrial output, manufacturing base, and export infrastructure that no other nation can fully match. China's Belt and Road Initiative continues to extend its economic and strategic reach across Asia, Africa, and Latin America, giving it a form of global influence that goes far beyond what its military numbers alone might suggest. Russia, occupying the third position in the global power rankings of 2026, is a nation that derives its extraordinary strength primarily from one source above all others, its nuclear arsenal. Russia declared having 1,549 deployed nuclear warheads in early 2026, along with 540 deployed launchers and 759 total launchers, making it the single most nuclear-armed nation on the planet. This nuclear capability alone guarantees Russia a permanent place at the highest table of global power, regardless of other economic or conventional military challenges it may face. According to Global Firepower's 2026 rankings, Russia is ranked number 2 in pure conventional military strength, placing it ahead of China in terms of raw battlefield capacity. Russia's military spending reached approximately $157 billion in recent assessments, and the ongoing conflict in Ukraine, while it has exposed certain logistical weaknesses in Russian conventional forces, has also hardened and battle-tested a military that has now accumulated more real-world combat experience than almost any other armed force on Earth. Despite Western economic sanctions that have constrained its GDP growth, Russia's vast reserves of natural resources, including natural gas, oil, wheat, and rare earth minerals, ensure that it retains a significant degree of economic leverage that cannot be easily dismissed. The United Kingdom claims the fourth position in the overall global power ranking for 2026, according to World Population Review and U.S. News and World Report's assessment of international power. Britain is a nation that punches far above its geographic weight, maintaining a permanent seat on the United Nations Security Council, a sophisticated nuclear deterrent through its Trident submarine-based missile system, and one of the most well-funded and internationally deployed military forces in the Western world. The UK's global soft power remains enormous. The English language, the BBC, British universities, the Commonwealth Network of Nations, and its deep diplomatic relationships across both the global North and global South give it an influence that its population of roughly 68 million people would not otherwise command. The UK's economy, though facing domestic challenges including post-Brexit adjustments, remains one of the top 6 largest in the world and continues to be a global financial center through the City of London, one of the most important banking hubs on the planet. India, sitting firmly at 5th place in the 2026 Global Power Rankings, is the most dynamic and rapidly rising force on this list. With a population of 1.47 billion people, now the largest in the world, India has overtaken many nations to become a serious contender for top-tier global power status. The 2026 Global Firepower Military Strength Ranking places India at number 4 in conventional military power, with a power index score of 0.1346, and multiple analysts have noted that India is well on its way to claiming the 3rd spot in the coming years. India's defense export target has been set at approximately Rs 30,000 crore by March 2026, reflecting the country's ambition not only to defend itself, but to become a major supplier of military hardware to allied nations. India's economy, meanwhile, has become one of the fastest-growing large economies in the world, having surpassed the United Kingdom to become the 5th largest GDP globally and showing all the indicators of continuing that upward trajectory. India's strategic location between East and West, its strong diplomatic relationships spanning both Western democracies and the global South, and its growing technological sector make it a nation whose global influence will only continue to expand. France, ranked 6th in the broader global power context for 2026, has made one of the boldest statements of any nation this year through its nuclear doctrine. French President Emmanuel Macron announced in early 2026 that France would increase its nuclear warhead stockpile and lend nuclear-capable aircraft to European allies as part of a new advanced nuclear deterrence framework. France's nuclear deterrence spending in 2026 is set to reach $57.1 billion, which accounts for 13% of France's entire defense budget, making it the 4th largest nuclear power in the world after Russia, the United States, and China. France's permanent membership on the UN Security Council, its role as a leading member of NATO, and its independent nuclear capability, something it has always insisted on maintaining outside the NATO command structure, give it a unique strategic position that few other nations can replicate. France's economy remains one of the top 10 largest in the world, and its cultural influence through language, cuisine, fashion, and diplomacy continues to make it one of the most recognized and respected nations globally. Germany, occupying the 7th position in the 2026 power standings, has undergone perhaps the most dramatic military and strategic transformation of any European nation in the post-Cold War era. Germany approved a budget of $524.54 billion for 2026, allocating $82.69 billion specifically to the German armed forces, a figure that represents a historic shift for a country that had deliberately kept its military spending modest for decades following the Second World War. German defense spending crossed the $100 billion mark, rising from $86 billion to $107 billion in recent years, and Chancellor Friedrich Merz has effectively abolished strict borrowing limits for defense spending, unlocking an unprecedented flow of military investment. Germany has committed to building Europe's strongest conventional army, with a NATO target of 260,000 active duty personnel by 2035 and a doubling of its reserve forces to 200,000. Germany's economy, the fourth largest in the world and the largest in Europe, provides the industrial and technological backbone to support this military ambition, making it a nation whose power is growing rapidly and reshaping the balance of strength across the European continent. Japan holds the eighth position among the world's strongest countries in 2026, and like Germany, it is a nation in the midst of a fundamental strategic transformation. Japan's cabinet approved a record defense budget exceeding $58 billion for fiscal year 2026, representing a 9.4% increase from the previous year and marking the fourth consecutive year of increases under Japan's ambitious five-year program to double its defense spending relative to GDP. Japan's goal is to reach a defense budget equivalent to 2% of its GDP by fiscal year 2027, and some projections suggest total defense spending could reach $70 billion once all supplementary measures are included. Japan's economy, despite years of deflationary pressure and demographic challenges, remains the fourth largest in the world by nominal GDP, with a highly skilled workforce, world-class manufacturing capabilities, cutting-edge robotics and semiconductor industries, and a global trading network that gives it enormous economic leverage. Japan's alliance with the United States through the U.S.-Japan Security Treaty ensures that it benefits from one of the most powerful military umbrellas in the world, while its own self-defense forces are increasingly capable of independent and sophisticated operations. South Korea secures the ninth spot in the 2026 Global Power Rankings, a remarkable achievement for a nation of roughly 52 million people that sits in one of the most dangerous geopolitical neighborhoods on Earth. According to Global Firepower's 2026 assessment, South Korea ranks fifth in the world in conventional military power, with a military strength index of 0.1642, and it has now held a top 5 position for 3 consecutive years. South Korea's military strength is built on a combination of mandatory conscription, advanced domestic defense manufacturing, a cutting-edge air force equipped with the latest generation fighter aircraft, a formidable ground force with thousands of battle tanks, and a highly capable naval fleet. South Korea's economy, the 12th largest in the world, is driven by globally recognized technology giants and a shipbuilding, semiconductor, and electronics industry that supplies the entire world. The fact that South Korea maintains this level of conventional military power entirely without nuclear weapons, unlike several of its regional competitors, makes its achievement all the more extraordinary and respected by military analysts worldwide. Rounding out the top 10 is Saudi Arabia, a nation whose enormous oil wealth, rapidly growing military capabilities, and expanding geopolitical ambitions have earned it a position among the most powerful countries on Earth in 2026. Saudi Arabia consistently ranks among the highest spenders on defense as a percentage of GDP in the world, channeling its extraordinary petroleum revenues into one of the most well-equipped militaries in the Middle East. With the largest oil reserves in the world and a dominant role in OPEC, Saudi Arabia wields economic power that directly influences global energy prices, affecting the economies of every nation on the planet. The kingdom's Vision 2030 reform program, championed by Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, is driving a diversification of the Saudi economy beyond oil, with massive investments in technology, tourism, entertainment, and manufacturing that are slowly but measurably transforming the country. Saudi Arabia's geographic position at the heart of the Arab world, its custodianship of the two holiest sites in Islam, and its deep alliances with both Western powers and emerging regional forces make it a nation of extraordinary strategic importance whose influence in global affairs in 2026 is simply impossible to overlook. The world of 2026 is a complex, contested, and rapidly shifting landscape where the balance of power is never truly fixed. These 10 nations, the United States, China, Russia, the United Kingdom, India, France, Germany, Japan, South Korea, and Saudi Arabia, stand above the rest not because of chance or geography alone, but because of centuries of history, decades of deliberate investment in their military and economic capabilities, and the determined will of their people and governments to secure their place among the most powerful actors in the international order. Their decisions will continue to shape wars, trade agreements, technology standards, climate policy, and the daily lives of billions of human beings across every corner of the globe for years to come.